Welcome. And today we have Jim Sanchez, 39 years, Circle of Honor. It's going to be an amazing story, so you're not going to want to miss this. Jim, welcome very much.
Well, thank you. Thank
All
you.
right. So Jim, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your UPS career?
Well, I started off as part-time in Cerritos,
Okay.
working the docks, unloading packages. I did that for about a year and a half, and I got asked to go package car driving.
Okay.
And it was out in Olympic, and just so happens that they asked me to go in March, and in February of that year, I just turned 21. So I said, sure. I went, and that same year, me and my wife got married. We've been married now, going to be 38 years in August. And
that's amazing.
After that, I did package for 12 years. I was out there in Olympic, and my manager knew that I lived out in Fontana. He suggested that I transfer to San Gabe.
Okay.
Into Foothills Center, because Foothills Center was going to be the first center to open Ontario. And at that time, if it would have all went through, it would have only been 6 miles from my house, because I bought in Fontana. So I said, sure, let's go. So he transferred me out to St. Gabe. I went into Foothills Center, stayed at Foothills Center until it opened up Ontario, and went right in.
So you had to wait 12 years on the waiting list to get into feeder?
Yes.
Okay.
And then once I went in feeder, I've been in ever since. I never looked back, but it was very hard at the beginning because 3 years I went back and forth to package, and it was I'm only working 1 day in feeder. I would go in Thursday, and they said, Sanchez, you need it in feeder on Friday, so don't come in Friday morning. You report there Friday night. Worked into Saturday morning, then Sunday slept, Monday start back in package again.
Well,
and I did that for about 3 years, back and forth,
Sounds like you paid some dues right there.
I did.
So, safety message, 39 years Circle of Honor. We want to know, what type of safety message can you give us, Jim?
Well, the best safety message I could give all them fellow brothers and sisters is do what you're trained to do. That's all I did. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just do what you told to do. Practice on that, rehearse on that, and eventually things will fall into place that you don't feel like you're stumbling over your 2 feet to try to get it done. Just take your time, do it right, and before you know it, you may have that patch on your shoulder.
It sounds like UPS puts together a method that makes it very easy for us to stay safe out there. Would you agree?
Yes. In fact, one thing that I heard early on is when they looked at safety methods, they looked at kids, little toddlers. Because if you watch a toddler pick up a package or pick up a toy, they bend at the knees, they don't bend over. I mean, they do everything right. And I thought that was kind of funny when I first heard it, but they're right.
Wow.
It's right. I have 5 kids of my own, and I've seen them do that.
You've seen them do that. I'm gonna have to check that out. Okay, so next question. Mentors. I mean, what type of mentors have you had that have helped you to become the man that you are today?
The one person that comes into mind when I think about that question is my dad. You know, my dad has went through a lot. He provides for our family, and I've never seen him complain about anything. In fact, there's been times where my mom was a stay-at-home mom.
Okay.
Taking care of, there was 4 of us, and sometimes she needed to do some errands, and we only had 1 car back there, and my dad would leave her the car, and he would take the bus to work from La Mirada all the way to Downey. And you know, it just shows the dedication to his family. I used to go every Tuesday not every Tuesday, but he would go every Tuesday. And every once in a while, when it was summertime, I would go with him, and he would take his mother to the market once a week, every Tuesday. It was.
And you remember that?
I remember that ever since I was a kid. He's always done that until she passed away.
Wow.
And you know, my parents have now been married 60. It'll be 66 years in June.
66 years.
Yes. You know, to have that type of marriage, you know, they're both doing something right. And for him to, for me to be a good man, I had to see a good man.
Wow.
And he was a very good person for me to follow in his footsteps.
I know you had mentioned your son. I believe he's in package.
Yes, my son is also in package right now in Palm Springs. And that goes with the same philosophy that I've had. In order for me to raise a good man, he has to see a good man. And right now, I believe he's one of the real good men out there. Ladies, he's single, so yes.
That's great. So is he thinking about coming into feeder?
He told me he was, but I'm not going to push him.
Okay.
Because it has to go on your own self when you're ready. You know, you can't just push somebody into this type of position, because mentally, it's a mental job.
Wow.
Very little physical in feeder, but a lot of mental decisions you're gonna have to make, and very important decisions.
Exactly. Now, Circle of Honor. This is the elite group. 35-year patch. You're on your way to possibly 40 in a year.
And you know, that patch would mean a lot to me personally. I got to the certain point in my life that it's a very decision, well, not so much a decision. It was more of something that I could reach, a goal. And it's a very realistic goal that I could hit. I could hit 40 years of service, 40 years safe driving, 40 years no lost time injury. And I think about that, and I thank my family for keeping me doing what I do safely, because I come home and I see them fed, I see them clothed, I see them in school, taking care of things. My wife is taken care of, and she's taking care of all the kids. And you know, I provided the house, and she makes it a home for all of us. And for me to be safe at work, I got to be safe at home also, because she doesn't work. I'm the only breadwinner. So if something would ever happen at home, it would affect my life at work.
Wow.
And then it will have a snowball effect that it would affect the income I bring at home.
Now, Jim, you said 40, 40, 40.
Yes.
Do we got a name for that?
Oh, I call that the Triple Crown.
The Triple Crown.
The Triple Crown. You know, out of all my career at UPS, I've never heard of anybody achieving that. There might have been, but I wasn't aware of it. And if I could do it, I know other people could do it too.
So you heard it here first, the Triple Crown, 40, yes. 40, 40. Now that goes into the next question. Philosophy, Jim. What type of philosophy do you like to live by?
Well, that I like to live by is being honest, be truthful with your family, do the job correctly. I may not go to church every Sunday, but I do pray every day. And I'm just thankful for what I have achieved and what I have at home and what I have. And don't reinvent the wheel. You don't need to. You know, this job will guide you, yes. through a path of being safe and very rewarding. Yes, very rewarding.
Now, throughout your career, Jim, I'm sure there's some accomplishments. What type of accomplishments are you most proud of?
Well, there's probably about three I have in mind. The first was I was only in feeder for about a year and a half,
Mm-hmm.
and I was asked to go on a sleeper team, the very first sleeper team for the company throughout the nation. There was only 4 teams, and I was on one of them. I was asked by Gary Culver. He was #1 in seniority back then, and that was very, very rewarding for me to be making that history.
So are you saying the first sleeper team in the United States, UPS?
Yes, for the company.
Wow.
They
So-
had sleeper teams, but it was subcontracting.
Oh, but Brown.
But Brown, the brown shirt being in that tractor, I was on the very first
Wow,
one.
it's amazing.
So it was pretty cool to do that.
So
and
number
then-
2.
Number 2, if I followed my career, it was an opportunity that came up that I was aware of, following all my safety methods. And I noticed by checking my mirrors and looking well ahead, I seen a car stopped, and there was a bad accident that happened that I
Okay.
was able to witness, and to the point where I helped save a girl from a burning car.
Wow.
And seeing her dad trying to pull her out, and he couldn't because he was also injured in the accident. But when he pulled her up, she was on fire. I got my fire extinguisher, ran across the freeway and put her out, and there was other people there that pulled her out because the flames were out. And that was very memorable to me because I got 4 daughters, and very emotional type of event for me. And seeing the dad, knowing that his daughter got out, she was burnt pretty good. They had to fly her out, and she ended up living. And the funny thing is, her name is Denise, just like the name of my wife,
Wow.
Denise.
Talk about, I mean, that's amazing right there.
Yeah.
Just, wow. What about number 3, Jim?
Oh, number 3. Well, funny you should ask, because the first time I went on sleeper and made history then,
Mm-hmm.
my daughter Raquel was only 7 years old at that time. Didn't think of her being my partner this time around. And sure enough, Raquel went through the ranks of part-time work, got a year safe driving, and she was able to get in the feeder, and she made the bid. As soon as she made the bid, I picked her up as my partner, and we broke history again, twice, twice in a career. Unbelievable. And this company's been around over 100 years, and for the West Coast, me and my daughter was the very first father-daughter sleeper team. In fact, I've traveled a lot of miles since that, and I think we were the first one in the nation. You know, there's been teams out there, but it's a father in feeder and the daughters in package still. But I don't believe there's another father-daughter sleeper team.
And then you might even make more history if your son decides to come to feeder. You'll have a father, son and daughter.
A daughter in feeder. Yeah.
So
I don't know.
Stay tuned for that. So, last question, Jim.
Yes.
What type of legacy would you like to leave behind when people think of Jim Sanchez? How do you want to be remembered, Jim?
Somebody who was honest, somebody who respected the job. And when you do that and you follow the ways you were trained, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And when you do that and you value yourself with your family to do the job safely, that you go home to them, you know, you could very easily have a patch on your shoulder. And what I would like for future drivers that I come in contact with, if I had any persuasion of helping them make that right decision at that particular time to get that patch on the shoulder, go for it. Just listen to your insight, knowing that you did it right, and thinking that I'm thinking that they will say, you know what, if Jim Sanchez could do it, I could do it too.
Wow.
One day at a time. That's all it is, one day at a time.
Well, thank you very much, Jim. Thank you for tuning in. If you like what you heard, leave a like or a comment. There's going to be more Circle of Honor stories, but we just appreciate you, Jim. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe.